Islam, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Beta Makam. That's right, coming to the light. Once again, this constitutional framework. We're going to start off with roll call as we always do. So let's introduce ourselves. Let's make an announcement of who we are, who's in the house tonight.
Islam, DC Bay, Ohio Territory.
Islam.
Islam, Cesarna Bay, Provincial Government, Elodium, Peru, Mauritania, Provincia, and Colorado Territory.
Islam.
Islam, Jamel Ali Bey, New York Territory.
Islam.
Islam, Kanye Show Bay, Colorado Territory. Elodium, Moorish, Paradia, Ante, Colorado. Islam.
Carl, Amar, QL, Kansas City Territory.
Islam.
Islam, Sharon Morris Bay, Michigan Territory.
Islam.
Islam, Yashar bin Zadek Il, Texas Territory.
Islam.
Islam. $2.2 million. Go ahead, brother. Oh, Islam, Shatina Grady L. and
Daniel Grady L.
from the Michigan Territory.
Islam.
Islam tribe, Maria Demaya Bay from the Colorado Territory.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam, Terrence L. Bay, Moroccan Territory.
Islam.
Islam, Maurice.
Vernon Watson Bay. Khalifa.
Islam.
Islam, Maurice Bay, geographical area commonly known as St. Louis, Missouri.
Islam.
Islam, Arthur Triggs, New Jersey Territory.
Islam.
Islam, Malik Zaid Bay, Colorado Territory.
Islam.
Islam, Mustafa Salahuddin Bey, Khalifa.
Islam.
Islam, Dolores Ellison Bay, Philadelphia Territory.
Islam. All right. Anyone else? Islam, everyone. Anyone else?
Sorry.
Anyone else?
Islam. Noble Iscariel, Colorado Territory.
Islam.
Islam, Sana Lee Bay, Alexandria, Louisiana Territory.
Islam.
Mayor L, Maryland Territory.
Islam. Is everyone to right now? All right. The prayer, Wampum 7, Iroquois Confederate Constitution, offered thanks to the earth where humanity dwell, to the streams of water, the pools, the springs of the lakes, to the maize and the fruits, to the medicinal herbs and trees, to the forest trees for their usefulness, to the animals that serve as food and give their pelts for clothing, to the great winds and the lesser winds, to the thunders, to the sun, to the mighty warrior, to the moon, to the messenger of the Creator who revealed his wishes to the great Creator who dwells in the heaven above, who gives all the things useful to men and who is the source and ruler of health and life. Majlis Rules of Order. Online. No recording online. Zoom. Keep mic muted during meeting until your selected time to speak during Q&A. Hold all questions until Q&A section. Zoom. Select raise hand button. 5 minutes or less per question. Minimum communication in the chat to allow for participants to focus on the presentation. Religious ceremonies protected. Wampum number 99. The rites and rituals, the rites and festivals of each nation shall remain undisturbed and shall continue as before, because they were given by the people of old times as useful and necessary for the good of men. The Haudenosaunee Iroquois Confederacy. I'll present to you Shem Malachi Bey. Brother Shem Malachi Bey. The principles that govern nations. The principles that govern nation, culture, traditions, ceremonies, festivals, customs, rites.
Salam alaikum, Islam, to the many men and women that have come together to reclaim our inherent right. I'm not ashamed to be here today, talk about what we have to do to get what's belonged to us, to having been given to us, but now we have to claim it, reclaim it, and we have to do it in an urgent matter. So therefore, I think the cosmos, powers of that what Professor Abdullah and Tamar El to me, because by doing that, we was able to spark a nucleus. I was able to spark a nucleus so that way we can channel our energy to the many men and women of Moorish consanguinity, blood consanguinity. That way now we know what we have to do to come back and reclaim the estates. If we don't do this political structure, civics, and economical structure, but political come first. What do you mean, Shem? You have to have a body. Like I'm standing here with 2 legs. I got arms, I got eyes, I got a nose, and I have a mouth, I have ears. These are the functionings of architect of the cosmos when they created man and woman from the earth. We have to think that way when we're creating political structure, meaning that there can never be an individual running the body. There have to be an architect and a designer and an author to how that function is created, and that is given in body in the people. Individual to come together collectively and fashion and frames a political structure that would enable them to elect officials. Then that would be delegated of power, authority. But the office have to be created through the Constitution, the political structure, that will invest in officer to hold that seat. In order for that structure to be created, you need the people. In order for the officer to be delegated authority, you need the people. Now, let me explain what I mean. We need principles that govern nations. Please, principles that govern nations. We need culture. We talked about positive law. We talked about negative law. We are in the negative. What you mean, Shem? We're denied. We denied as a people because we haven't claimed a nationality. And this was we deprived of. culture, traditions, ceremony, festivals, customs, and rights. Rights, as they say. We have been denied that. This is the principle of real government. Now, the only thing that I can point to is the Iroquois Constitution. You're going to hear me talk about that. Then you're going to hear me talk about constitutions of people who come out of colonization, oppress, apartheid. You're going to see how they form government, but they formed a government based on the indoctrination of the hundreds of years of being oppressed. And they make constitutions based on what they learn in the indoctrinated colleges and institutions. They are indoctrinated to not get power from the people, like the Iroquois, where it belongs at in the house, where the first teacher, the inherent right comes to the woman, the teaching comes to the woman. Therefore, if she decide who's going to be the legislator and the head of state or head of the nation, you cannot take that right away from her because it is delegated through her what? Her vote, her voicing herself. How she voices herself? By saying, of my children, this is going to do this and that. Why is that principle there? That's an inherent right. Now, when it comes from indoctrination of a university, that means it's not coming from the house. It's coming from a private society or a fraternity, we call a fraternity order, where selected men and women has been ordained and selected by a monarchy to write an instrument to keep the people as debtors. And to have them where they can have where they can have political affair among themselves, but they can never voice themselves or remove an oppressive official or head of state or monarchy, king or queen or emperor, from oppressing them or selling off their land and giving up their birthright. This is why government structure is very important. Government structure is, once again, in culture, very important. In culture, you're dealing with bartering, exchange, contracts, amity, rituals, festivals. What you mean? Things of the land. The affection towards one another as a clan or a tribe. In that, you set up a judge to hear disputes. In that, you elect the head of state. In that, you elect a body or committee of people, men and women, to make the laws. And then hand it to the tribal people. They counsel the tribal people to say, okay, this is what the people want for the society or their clan. And they hand it up to who? The council body. The council body looks at it not based on what they created, that they think should be good for the people. See, that's the problem. When somebody write a contract and they put in the contract what your rights are, that falls under culture. What just happened? There you go. Thank you, Tamara. She right. Stole your birthright. You know why they stole it? Because that is the school of thought. That is the opinion. That is the decision. And that's the judgment all wrapped up in that concerning you. And there's nothing in there saying that you have a right to challenge that. If you got an instrument where the people don't have a right to challenge the representative or official that they elected, that's not a people monarchy. That's not a people republic. That's a monarchy republic. What do you mean? The monarchy control the affairs of the people. The monarchy control the open affairs of the people. Even Professor Abdul sat down, went over treaties, and we see what happened. We see what's going on. And that's what the people has been missing. You know, everybody want to stand on something new. Well, I can do it like this and get my birthright. No, you can't. You can't create no political structure. Your own body challenge you. Because when you go to scratch your head, you don't scratch your head with your feet. You scratch your head with your hands while your hands are there. And with your hands attached to arms. And with your arms attached to a corpus, a body. So you walk on your feet, scratch with your hands. See, nature teaches you these things. We just ain't paying attention to it. Okay, let me get to culture, res republica. See, Iroquois Constitution. Culture, Constitution is for the clan, tribe, house, group, and society of a people collectively. Now, okay. Culture, Constitution is for the clans, tribes, house, groups, and societies of the people collectively. Now, what I just said, once again, principles that govern nations. Culture. Why are you not seeing this in the laws of nations? This here. Why is this here? You know why? Because there's a certain level of divinity that an Albion can't get. Shim, you're being prejudiced. No, I'm not. No. I'm not being prejudiced. There's nations that is ordained by the cosmos that bring forth their powers and gifts through the woman, through them. I'm not being biased. I'm not being discriminatory. This is something that's already anciently documented. This is what we have to get back to. Principles that govern nations. Culture. Nobody talks about that. Because in culture is traditions, ceremony, festivals, customs, and rights. What just happened here is you don't have a cultural constitution because it's for the clans, tribe, houses, groups, and society of the people collectively. That means they are not the author. They are not the settlers. They are not the engineers. That is forming something that they can control. Meaning that they're not giving birth to the baby. That's what it means. Now, the Iroquois Constitution preserved the ancient matriarch inherent right of the mother, noble, to appoint a male heir, lord, speaker, keeper of bread, for the house of represent to represent the tribes, clans, and people of the nation. Now, I use the Iroquois because that's the only thing that I and others that's jurists can look at and say, you know what? That preserves the right of the people. Once you throw the mother in there, that's dealing with the house, where everything comes from. Not a private society, not a monarchy. You're going straight to the source. So it comes from the source, it's preserved in the people because they get to make decisions. It's not like, well, I'm the emperor, and I say the male's got to be appointed, and that the woman's got to keep the house. That's not it. The woman is the monarchy because it's that kind of monarchy is based on the principle of culture, our ancient culture. The same way in the invisible world, there's one womb, mother womb, operating the masculine and the feminine principle. Come on now. Why you didn't hear the word her? She. Where did these old concepts and old writings come from? See, if we don't come together as a people and claim our Moorish consanguinity, we can never inherit, we can never honor first our ancestors, ancient mothers and fathers. Secondly, we're not honorable, we're not honorary. Third, we can never get possession of our states and ownership of land because we don't have a structure. We can't create a structure. You notice in ancient writings, people that claim something is never challenged. We'll be challenged here more than anywhere in the world. Why? Because no one has been indoctrinated like the Moor here. I'm serious. This is for real. It's not that the Moor is evil or wrong. That's all they know. That's all they was taught. And to be built up and survival on a structure that's against you, but it's compensating you. Meaning it's doping you up. It's keeping you high, social high. It's meeting your needs. What needs to meet? Your mental needs, the indoctrination need, which they put on you. The metaphysics of this is mentally, and what they did is they put on you, you are dependent like as a dope fiend, a junkie on them. To challenge, I'm going to use nature, to challenge a man or woman shooting dope, smoking crack, or smoking dust is playing with your life. There is a struggle physically. The dope fiend, the crackhead, the dust head need it. Mentally, they've been indoctrinated, right socially, engineered the wrong way, apartheid. Once you come in and disturb that, you're just like you're dealing with a dope fiend junkie. This is why it's important that we got to get the people mentally together. To at least claim to be of a house, then build a community. This thing is serious. The Moors are in bad shape here, man. Private societies, a private society, res publica. Go ahead. Tamara, you gotta go to the next page. Well, you didn't have it there. I have to say something.
Private society, res publica. The rights created by a selected group of people operating from a private order, commanding the people to perform pursuant to what the private societies have written as the authors and settlers of the instrument drafted to bring the people into the obedience of school of thought, opinions, decisions, and judgments of the ruling crown or head of authority.
Now, I can point to a lot of examples anciently where somebody said, but I'm going to use the United States because every Moor is so fascinated, not every Moor, but most of the majority of Moors are fascinated with the United States. United States, according to the treaty, is an ally of the Moors. I want y'all to hear this. According to the treaty, United States is in friendship with Morocco, the sovereignty of Morocco, but not its people. They are in friendship with the sovereign power of Morocco, but not with the people. Now, let me use an illustration to demonstrate that a private society, res publica, is not for the people. I'm going to use an example. United States formed the Constitution. The esquires are in the ranks of the English ranks above a gentleman, ranking below a knight. Every party that learns law have to become a member of the bar. When that happens, that's a form of a fraternity order. That means now you have claim to be a British subject working for the crown. You don't know this. You're indoctrinated not to know this. Then when every time the people that's indoctrinated need something, they go to someone, esquire. The esquire is the one that drafts, author, engineer, and settler, exchanger of all the documents. So therefore, the crown, the private society, the private families, the royal family will always be res publica. Res publica, the society res publica, because the esquires is the society res publica. That means they are the private societies controlling the public affairs. Yes, they are. They draft the instrument. Until you can prove to me and show me the signature page that people, that British subjects in their capacity as the committee that elected that public official is signed in that condition, they never signed it. They was not a party. They had no idea what was going on. They just went along with it and explained it to them as they went along. It was made up as they went along. I mean, that's why they only enforced the Constitution when they're going to become a civil war, because they learned from history they rose up against their crown. So we don't want these people rising up against us. That's a statutory crown. Can have that. So they've been a law. Once again, the rights created by a selected group of people. Notice that. The rights created by a selected group of people operating from a private order, commanding the people. Now, no, excuse me, don't the Constitution command people to do stuff? Absolutely. It said the Bill of Rights. They have to amend the Constitution. That means they have to add to the Constitution, because when they first drafted, the people's rights wasn't in there. So they had to amend it to keep them from what? Going against that statutory crown. To perform pursuant to what the private societies have written. Now, this is very important. When I say the private societies are the ones that are writing these instruments. Ask yourself out there, when you have a problem, who do you go to? Even Moorish, who do you go to? You go to an esquire. The reason why he's an attorney of the state, because he's the officer to sign over all your allegiance. See, he signed your allegiance over. What do you mean? By hiring him, you waive your right to the protection under the treaty. Because the treaty doesn't say esquire. Doesn't say a council, Sixth Amendment council. So the reason why we're saying this, because you have to understand the principle of government. When you draft your Constitution, we get it. We're going to review it based on these principles. We're going to review it based on these principles and say, is this a private society, res publica? Or is this a culture society, res publica? You know, people like to hear the word, oh no, the Constitution is a Republican form of government. No, it's not. I just said, no, it's not. Why ain't it a Republican form of government? Because it's not, the people have not signed this instrument. The people are not the engineer, architect, settlers, exchangers, and authors of this instrument. The Bar Association is. Therefore, that makes them, be honestly, therefore, the invention of that is their private copyright. Because the United States, like Professor Abdullah says, is all these European powers. That's why I say we the people for prosperity and tranquility, whatever say, that's the people, that's them. For who prosperity? So somebody said, oh, they have elections, they have Republican Party, they have the Democratic Party. Yes, they elect their rulers to rule over them. They don't elect their servants to serve them. There's a difference in a ruler over you and a servant serving you. Now, what is a servant serving you? Somebody that's always got to obey the voice of the people, the order of the people, the command of the people. Why you got to do that? What is that? What is that? That means when your Constitution is drafted, you got to put that the sovereign power, the supreme power of this government is in the house, the clan, the tribe, the society of people in this territory. You heard me? And that they have the authority to remove, as they vote through election an official in, they have the power to petition in their district or region to remove the official if it does not comply to the Constitution and the free will of the people. That's mandatory. That's mandatory. I got to the authors and settlers of the instrument drafted to bring the people into obedience. Now, when I say drafted, they are bringing you into obedience, because the moment that you want something done, I'm gonna finish this. The moment that you let them do something and you can't correct that in your document, the first draft, which embody everything, which embody your traditions, your rights, what that mean? You lost authority. You gave it up. You gave your birthright up. You gave your nation to a private society. Next, we got naming of the Moorish provincial government. 1, who are the drafters of the Constitution? That's a question. Go read that more.
Naming of the Moorish provincial government.
Right,
Number
go ahead.
1, who are the drafters of the Constitution?
Stop. The drafter of the Constitution of the colonies was the crowns, the esquires. I'm going back now. The drafting of the United States Constitution was of the esquires. The drafting of the Articles of Confederacy was not just the esquires. There was indigenous Moors, what they call Indians, Moors, because that instrument was based on the Confederacy that already existed, the Iroquois, with the Leninappes. So that means that's one time the esquires couldn't control that. Somebody said, what do you mean, Shem? Go to the treaty. It's 1778. It say deputy. Why did the Lenape Moors use the word deputy? It's the underword for consul. They even made it clear that if a criminal charge or civil is brought against a Lenape Moor, there have to be the jury of his national status, and the deputy was in charge. And that a government figure from the Lenape government will sit with Congress, in Congress. Why would it, that's not, listen to me. The sitting in Congress does not give them jurisdiction over your nation or your pedigree. They sitting there to regulate commerce as an alliance to have government-to-government relationship. So I have to go there. So who are the drafters of a constitution? Ask yourself. Look at the constitutions that's drafted. The only one I see that reserved the right of the people is the Iroquois, because you're dealing with the mother. See, I got to honor that because I have a mother. And see, in having a mother in the house taking care of you, you know this principle, what it means. I'm serious. This principle is very, very unique, because I know. My father used to ask your mother, and whatever your mother say, that's what he used to say. Where did my father get this from? His mother and father. It was handed down to it. That's an inherit claim. Now, if you don't draft the Constitution, the common people, or if the political parties of head of state, legislator, or judges, judiciary, is not from the house, I mean the collective house of mothers, forming a council to train, give them a school of thought, put her opinion down, and she deal with philosophy because she loved what's handed down through culture, tradition, ceremony, festivals, customs, and rites. It's handed down. She loves it. So she hands it down to the male. By doing that, we will always have control of the government because the supreme power body is the woman. Why? She have the babies. She nourishing them. She's handing something down. It was handed down to her. That's called inherit. When they strip the mother of that, you have no more inherit rights. Oh, that was my father. I got it right. That's not based on ancient principles. That's based on to keep the rights from the land. The people knowing that. Now we got the go ahead.
Number 2,
okay. All right. Go ahead. Name no officers of government. Go read the second line. Oh, read it first. Read the first. Go ahead. Read the first one, and then go to the second line too. Oh, number one. I just went through that. Oh, no. Go ahead. You can read it. Go ahead. You right there. Go ahead. Who are the drafters of the Constitution? For us, the draft of the Constitution are the people from the clan, tribe, societies, congregations, communities of the house. We are the ones that do that. We got the sovereign power. We get that power inherited to us anciently. Now, why I say the clan and stuff? Because that is the one that you have to have that first. You have to have a clan, you have to have a house. Then you have to have a community groups, congregations, societies, and they all come from tribes. They all form tribes and clans. They're many in one province of Morocco. So we have to have the people. We can't have someone that been colonized, social engineered, indoctrinized in your Albion's institutions, European institutions, and taught reverse history, backwards history, errors history. Be part of the college fraternity order, become an esquire or representative of private society or organization, and then come back to the village, to the clan community, the society or congregation, and say, hey, I put together an instrument where we can protect our rights. Protect our culture, traditions, ceremony, festival, customs, and rights. He won't say that. He said protect your rights. Who put it together? Oh, yeah, I'll put this together. And now he's not going to go to the many groups of houses, groups, communities, societies of the people commonly and say, give me someone. Y'all select a council, caucus, and y'all write down what y'all want. And then give it to us, and you sit down with us, and we'll go over it. And this is what you want our editor. This is what you want. You look at it, and then you sign off on it as a representative of yourself. That's what's supposed to happen with the Moorish provincial governments. That's what's supposed to happen. That is what's supposed to happen. Because all he is a foreign agent. But the moment you let him come in and he bring other selected people that he selected to help you out, and they sign, you gave away your sovereignty. Just naturalize yourself. Because now, when they sign and introduce that to the foreign powers, that means now all they give you the right to vote for who? No one common among yourself. You ever notice in the United States Constitution, you can't show me a steel worker, a baker, a private advisor. You can't show me a man that works a store. You can't show me a man do construction, an engineer, a plumber. You can't show me nobody that you can point to that came from and formed a constitution or a political body. You can't show me no one. So we have to, at the Moorish provincial government, we have to be able to draft based on ourselves, based on the authority comes from us as a provincial government, meaning that the only way the government body can be formed is from us. We are the supreme sovereign power of the government body. We are the current that give the energy to the people. You understand? So let's read the next line, line 2.
Number 2, parliamentary quorum, majority rule by vote for approval.
Now, what we're dealing with, body politics, is when the people give the elected officials in that capacity when you got a government and a bill is coming up from the people. Now, when the bill comes from the people through their committee, handed to the representative in the parliament, this is real government. Then that official, public official, is supposed to take only what you gave him, and not put his own personal intent in there, or some other committee he created that you don't know, that's also bar attorneys, that's also been in these colleges and been dollars. So the body politics have to be the only one that vote on that bill or statute or act that you put there, meaning that when it goes before them, the government body, the body politics will rule. And the majority of them that rule, that becomes law, provincial government. Now, remember, when I say Moorish provincial government, you know that I say Moorish, we're talking about in-house, consanguinity. We're not talking about foreign organization foreigners. We're talking about people that's in Morocco as nationals, that's claiming their blood pedigree, Moorish blood consanguinity. It's their right to create the provincial government. It's their right to vote and create the body of civics, political civics and economics. It's their right to give they will in the bills, statutes, codes, policy, regulations. Then it gets to the representative of the Moorish provincial government that's in the Parliament Council. Then they vote on it. Then the majority of them, when the majority vote, that's passed into law. What is passed into law? The intent of the people, not the intent of the committee or the legislator as individuals, taking the right away from the people of the Moorish provincial government. We can't have a Moorish provincial government like that. That's not a people res publica, Moorish provincial government. Outside of that, you are not operating as a free, legitimate government, because you cannot turn back to culture. Remember, principles that govern nations. Now, I'm going to say these nations here is the area cores, because I don't see nobody else had this principle. They had a Moorish provincial government principle. They protect the government. They make sure that the principal government, the principles is not set up on individual fraternity orders. Okay, A, go ahead. Okay, next slide. Vote, go ahead,
Voting granted by the sovereignty as a monarchy authority. People elect someone to rule over them as a selected appointment in the form of a vote, which is not a right. Once the people who either select or elect a public official and does not have the inherent power to impeach or remove that official through a collective amongst themselves is a public monarchy government.
Yes. Keep going. Next page.
Voting as an inherited right to preserve the sovereignty of the people. The power is in the intent of the voters to order their representative to follow the will of the people.
Next, we went through that.
The purpose for a preamble. The opening statement is the voice of the sovereigns explaining how the government structure is structured and how the people are going to invoke in existence their intent to govern themselves in their territory and elect from amongst themselves certain women and men who are delegated authority to fill the offices / seats that are vested in the Constitution. Preamble, example of opening statement. We the Moors, as descendants of the original inhabitants of the Moorish Empire within the various villages, countries, town, providence, and religions in Morocco, have decided to come together as a political assembly and hold elections to elect certain women and men from among our tribes, clan groups, societies, and communities of these Moorish Moroccan houses as the foundation of this Moorish provincial government.
Before you go, I'm going to speak briefly on this so they can get the proper concept on this. When the houses form the assembly together and they form the government body, when they form that, the people create the cabinet. because the people are the head of state. Because the election head of state, the elected official, the parliament, and the judiciary is of the people, of culture. Now, this is how the people control it. By creating the cabinets. The judge consultants, the lawyers, the advisors, the educators. See, it goes down. But these people are selected, not elected. They're selected by the ones that reserve the sovereign power, that when they had elections, they did it among themselves. Being not really highly inclined with the diplomatic and foreign affairs, so what they do is they create a cabinet and select and appoint advisors. They invite an ambassador. But these educated, these doctrinated, or you can say educated men that skill in their office is bound and controlled and ordered and command by the sovereign power of the people, who is the head of state, who is the parliament, who is the judiciary. Why? Because among themselves, they elected themselves. Being not schooled with diplomatic relationships and foreign affairs, so in order to make sure that if we do deal with these people, we can't elect somebody in that office and then appoint somebody, and we don't have no say so until 6 years come, only by expressing our vote. We want this person now. No. You started from there, from the foundation. Then you control by creating the cabinets, and you hire them and appoint them. That's how you control a res publica government of the people. Next.
These houses of various Moorish provincial body politics have elected our public officials from amongst our own people of Moorish consanguinity in the respective territorial in Morocco, and now create this constitution in which we have vested our sovereignty in offices for our own Moorish public officials, governors, legislatures, and judicial body.
Now, let me say something. The governors, the legislative body, and judiciary body, in order to get this, in order to get that, the Air Corps did something very marvelous and unique. In order to, you have to control the government, the governors. You got to control the legislators. You got to control the judiciary body, which is in the Lord and the Fire Council. Hear me out. In order to control that, they placed it in the hands of where it belongs. The mother, because she had the children. And she's not nothing of a private society. She's not none of a fraternity order. She's not indoctrinated. This is a mother that's been handed down the inherent right of wisdom, philosophy, in order to give a school of thought to the child, in order to give the child a power to speak an opinion, in order to have the child give a decision, in order to have the child give judgment. Next. So this is very important. Let me go back to the Air Corps.
Examples of constitutional principles in error. Title I, of the Mexican Moroccan nation, its territory and religion. Article 2, its territory comprehends the former viceroyalty of New Spain.
You see that? Keep going.
The Captain Generalship of Yucatan, the former commandments of the internal provinces of the East and West and Upper and Lower California, with the lands annexed and the adjacent islands in both oceans. A constitutional law will be made for designating the boundaries of the Moorish provincial government as soon as circumstances will permit.
Now, what I did was, this right here was the United Mexican States, which is the United Moroccan States, Spanish-speaking Moors. What I did was, I put that in there to show you that when they create political structure, when you're creating political structure, you have to claim your constitution the boundaries. Oh, yes, you do. That's very important. Now you can read on. Article 3.
Article 3. The religion of the Mexican Moroccan nation shall perpetually remain the Roman Catholic and
Now,
apostolic.
let's stop right there. You see what just happened here? This is not the common people. This is Mexicans. This is no, I'm not reading. I'm just talking. This is Mexicans that has been taught in the colleges of the European powers, the Moroccans that was taught in the Moorish was taught in the European colleges, and now they're coming back forming a constitution. Now you have to understand. You choose the word Catholic, Roman Catholic, and apostolic. The Roman Catholic was persecuting the apostolics and burning them to death. Let me explain what I mean. They would take the woman that was considered prophetess, and they would burn the women up. Okay, they were burning women up that was said it was prophetess, because the women would be able to foresee. So they'll call them spooks and witches, but they was not witches and spooks. They was foreseeing the future and guiding and protection of the nation, the people. Their principles was based on Roman Catholic. They let you know that you could not come in and bring any principle or concept of religion unless it's based on the philosophy of how the Romans and the so-called apostolic church, consider it. So you see why it's important that this is controlled by the ecclesiastic private societies right there. The Roman and apostolic. That's a society. That's like ecclesiastical societies controlling this thing right here. That's the giveaway. Okay, go ahead.
The nation protects it by wise and just laws and prohibits the exercise of any other.
Okay, go down. Next.
Title 2. Of the form of government of the nation in its integral parts, and of the division of the supreme power.
Okay, read that again.
Of the form of government of the nation in its integral parts, and of the division of the supreme power.
Now stop right there. Anytime you use the word of supreme power, that means that is the whole thing that's ruler and controller of everything that's below, that's in that instrument. Now I'm gonna show you why, when we show you earlier about the town and village and the Moorish consequently, why that language is very important in the instrument of social trust like this. He said, remember, this is the supreme power. Remember that. The supreme power. Read Article 4.
The Mexican nation adopts for the form of its government a popular, representative, and federal republic.
Stop right there. When you hear the word Mexican nation, that's not the people. That's what they say. That's the Roman, that's the ecclesiastics, private societies that's running that. Because they consider themselves as a nation. So these Mexicans are considered themselves a part of that. And it's a popular representative, not the popular population of the house, the clans. See, this word representative, that means already a status established already. 5, go to 5.
The constituent parts of the Federation are the following states and territories. The states of Chiapas, Chihuahua, Coahuila, and Texas, Durango, Guanajuato, Mexico, Michoacán, Nuevo León, Oaxaca, Pueblo de Los Ángeles, Querétaro, San Luis Potosí, Sonora, and Sinaloa, Tabasco, Tamaulipas, Veracruz, Jalisco, Yucatan, and Zacatecas, the territories of Upper California, Lower California, Colima, and Santa Fe de Nueva Mexico, a constitutional law will fix the character of Tlaxcala?
Now, let me explain to you what's going on in all these names. These are Moorish estates that was conquered by Spain. They're under Spanish names. These are Moorish estates. They're under Spanish names. They are claiming the political jurisdiction, civics, and economics in these territories. Now, let me explain to you. This is not, when they say nation, that means collectively all these estates is forming to a state in a territory. They're coming together forming one national constitution. That's what, let me explain something so you know. That's what that's what we're doing. The Moorish provincial governments are, when you hit all these are different Moorish provincial governments. Yes, these are Moorish provincial governments, and they're using the Spanish names, but these are Moorish estates. But they're coming together collectively as political organizations forming one national government. Why? So that when they represent to the rest of the nation to be recognized, they already acknowledge themselves. They just deposit and do a proclamation so you can hear and see and know who they are. Collectively, not individually. Ain't nobody here acting like individual. You cannot put this nation together unless all of the states come together and form a political state in the territories. Got territories. Territories are here. And what they doing? They form one national government. Now you see why it's important. Now let me say something. The society that we formed, Tamara came from her ecclesiastic body. I'll get back into that then. Okay, I'll get back. Article 6, let's go.
The supreme power of the Federation as to its exercise is divided into the legislative, executive, and judicial powers.
They just stole the government. The government has just been hopped. Where the people at? The supreme power of the Federation of each house, each clan, each tribe, each community, each congregation coming together collectively, assembling to exercise their sovereignty to elect a legislator, an executive, and a judiciary power. You put power and you keep it in the hands of the people. When that language is not there, that means that's Tamara Wright is in error, and that means every time you elect, your monarchy kicks in and rule you. They don't serve you. There's no servant there because this little language say who's the supreme power. They don't say you. So they go to what? The Constitution doesn't say that. They say you put that in us. That means you made us a monarchy. You can't turn back on that now. Come on now. Let's stop playing with each other. This is more provincial government, political legitimacy. Anciently and traditionally, it's not like that. Professor Abdullah is back. But thank you for the time. And Professor Abdullah is going to take on. Thank you very much. You know what the point is, go after this way, this way.
Once again, Islam. Shem did a wonderful job. You know, we back up for question and answering. All right, the provincial framework. Once again, this is very important. And as I said, Tamara Hill is working on doing a very, she's going to be working on putting a more expansive presentation on these provincial framework. One, declaratory commitment. In the declaratory commitment location, you have in-person, Zoom, or hybrid. Date and time of the meetings, finance, treasury, budget, attendance, minutes, communication methods, proton mail, email, which is free, Telegram, messenger chat, free, OneNote, free, Zoom, $14.99 a month, In fact, we used the OneNote for the law class. Provincial framework continue. Modulates parliamentary procedures on having a structure and format way of on running your meetings and your assembly. Moorish provincial body politics name, parliamentary rules. 4, social sites, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and library. Is that Instagram? And Instagram. Also Instagram included. 5, basic website. On the basic website, this about us page, contact us page, mission strategy page, schedule of event page, outline when meetings are conducted. Number 6, campaign, community campaign. And we had Tamara mentioned last week the campaign flyer that we've used can be used by the Moorish provincial governments. All right. So we have upcoming question and answers, question and answer section. But I love this provincial framework. And I said Tamara Ill is preparing a more extensive presentation because we all need that. This is a structure. This is a structure to reach out to the people, a structure to hold meetings, Zoom, so everyone doesn't have to come to a particular location. That's the way in which you can expand, you know, the meeting throughout a particular Moorish territory through Zoom classes. All right. So right now I'll have our question and answer period. Question and answer period. Question. Shim Malachi Bay is coming up right now. We have a question and answer period. All right. All right. Feel free to unmute your mic and present the question. No hands are raised. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Right, she the mic. Yes. Put your hands up. Should have some questions. No, we
How do you put your hand up?
Khadija,
Gotta
I'm
have-
gonna lower your hand and you can go ahead and present your question. Did I see Khadija? Was it Khadija? Let me see. Here it is. Did I pronounce your name wrong?
Unmute. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm saying, I know we need resources. So why don't we do a susu? Can you hear me?
Was that the question?
Yeah, I'm saying, why don't we do a susu? I mean, even if it was $10 a week, $20 a week, and then out of that, we can donate that. Like if it's 10 of us or 20 of us or 30 of us, or however many that there are, we could all do that. And then that money can go towards paying for the Zoom or whatever some of the expenses are that you may have.
Do you want me to answer that? You want me to get that?
Yeah, you can answer. Yes, you can answer.
It is an idea.
No, it's a great idea. If that was an idea that you would bring forth to your Moorish provincial body politic within the Moorish Imperial Restoration Caucus, that's why we talk about declaratory commitment. When you form your Moorish provincial body politics within your region and the people in which you entrust in one another, and which is the formation of the meetings this evening. It has been ongoing. One of the things that you will discuss is financial obligations regarding some of the things that you have in place. For instance, I'm just going to use us for an example. Is it okay if I use us for an example?
Absolutely.
And no, I'm not coming in front of the camera because I have on a jogging suit today. So when we first started, when the Moorish Imperial Restoration Caucus started in June of 2019, we did not have obligations at that time. However, we were utilizing the rental of a building every second and fourth Saturday of each month. So our commitment was a verbal commitment of 10 notes per session, so 20 notes a month. And we had a agreement with the person that we was renting out the building with. I think it was what, 40 notes or 60 notes each week. 60 notes each week. So that's $120 a month. Now, within your society or within your caucus, we realized that we had the faithful few. Even when we started off with 52 people, we still only had the faithful 2 that gifted their 10 notes, each week to go towards that. So there were times when certain people came out their pocket more so to carry the load and the weight of that financial obligation. Now it got real intense as the months went on, and as we continue to build, because the needle continued to move. You don't worry about that part. You just continue to move, because the only outlier at that time that we had was the bi-weekly, the 60 notes, 120 notes a month. That was the only outlier we had. In addition to, we had the $14.99 Zoom. So when December of 2019 came, we presented a declaratory commitment in which was in writing. At that time period, our numbers dwindled down from 52 to 34, and then by December it was at 13. It was at 13 by December of 2019. From June of 2019 to December 2019, the caucus, we only had 13 members. So at that time, we was okay with that because we knew more would come. So we came to an agreement and put everything in writing, because now we secured a location to start being able to build. And we had a monthly outlier for that building to secure. We had equipment and things of that nature. So we had a commitment of 50 notes per caucus member. So we've been at that 50 notes per caucus member. And even though our outliers as far as responsibility to things that we have, based off, because the way we have built is more, we have more output than we have input, because we have not increased the declaratory commitment. It's still in effect of the 50 notes. So what happened is we have a benefactor, which is the Academy of Providence. So what we did with the Academy of Providence stepped in and donates 30% of its proceeds from the school enrollment. So the various Moors that take the classes through the Academy of Providence, they're helping also to help build and facilitate this process as well, because 30% of those enrollment into the school go towards the ability for us to be able to do what we're doing and to help facilitate the other various Moorish body politics. So the SUSU is within us. So it's within us as we collectively come together within our provincial zone. I hope I didn't say too much or enough so it could be understood. So that is the SUSU, the declaratory commitment to the mission.
Okay.
Did that help?
So when you say, okay, this is just kind of getting on board, and the provincial, could you say that again? The
Moorish provincial body politics. Is this your first time on the
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is put your email in chat.
Okay.
And I'm going to shoot you the first two classes so you can kind of get caught up.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Basara Denise L. Lower your hands and you can present your question.
My question is that should the woman be the head of the body politics based on Shim's presentation, or should she be elected, or which would be the suitable way to deal with what I'm speaking of?
Well, when the Air Corps nations came together, that is not just that's not a social trust constitution. That's a divinity ecclesiastic constitution. And from that, when other public governments are created outside of that, they will be to go draw from the well. They go to the well and say, what's going to protect the people's rights? They're going to look and they say, well, listen, you know something? The women was the head of was in power to elect the head of state, the legislature, and judiciary. So that would make them say that the power of the government, supreme power, is in the people. So if you got a public social trust, the power is in the people. But if you're dealing with something to dealing with protecting culture from ecclesiastic point of view, then there's nothing wrong with a society using that principle. Remember, they say each nation have a right, but that's nothing wrong in laying it down, that there's nothing wrong for using that principle because it's not nothing new. It's traditionally ancient. I hope I was help to you, Bashir.
Yes.
Next question. Question.
I just had a quick question. Pinchas Woodell out of the Republic of Texas. What was the name of that academy?
Providence, Academy of Providence.
Islam.
Well, let Tamara speak a little more on that so you know what's going on. Go ahead, Tamara, expound on that. Go ahead, Tamara, no, because you could explain it more openly and clear. Yeah, go ahead, do your thing.
Okay. All right. Let me go here. I guess Abdullah do not have his phone on him. I'm sorry. Let me go here. Let me just read this to you, in which Abdullah could have did the same thing. Academy of Providence. Let me just go to the mission statement of Academy of Providence. And I will say this, Academy of Providence is a university that was formed by myself, Tamara L., as well as Abdullah L. Talib Mosey Bey. Now, keep in mind, we come from a long history of this. Abdullah come from a longer history of this. He's older than me, so so he was teaching for years, many years, and I've always been into project management in different sectors of the industry. So as we come up on nationality, we both knew that there was something that was needed to be put in place here. So that's how we came together to form this. And then as we start forming the body politics and help the Moorish Imperial Restoration Caucus, we knew there was going to be a, what would you say? We saw that there was going to be a financial need. There was going to be a financial need to help get over the hump. Because a lot of times, in what we did not want to do and what we're not going to do is create what we have seen as, no shade, no tea to anyone else. We were not going to create a business that would be outside of political jurisdiction, like not being right and exact. We were not going to do just selling packages or anything of that nature. We're not doing that. So we always, when we met about 3 years ago, I think this is the first thing we talked about, an online school. So one of the things that came across was the Rockefeller Board of Education mission. So in that mission is so eerie. So if you get a chance, Google 1908. You can just Google border education, mission, philosophy. And when you read that, read it very slow, and it will just make your stomach just turn in circles. So in doing that, we had to put our own mission statement together that would create the illumination. So the mission statement of Academy of Providence reads, in manifesting, the mission of Academy of Providence is to promote the restoration of critical thinking, which is molded in the epistemological tradition of conventional education. Now, when we say conventional education is to mean to lead out what's within you, from within, that comes from the source, not what's poured into you, which is indoctrination or being trained. So through the illumination of the past to anticipate the future generations will yield onto their intellectual, creative, philosophical, and intuitive mind. So the Academy of Providence fosters critical analysis and critical thinking. So within that, we have been trained in the school of indoctrination to be a part of that. What's that master student relationship where you always have the teacher as the master and you the student, and you're never supposed to rise above your teacher or supposed to challenge your teacher. Well, our philosophy is different. We implore the critical analysis thinking of, and that would allow us to become free of bondage and be back in order to take back our culture, because that is true liberation, to take back our culture, which is our traditions, ceremony, festival, rites, um, customs and things. So that is our liberation, of our sovereignty. So that is Academy of Providence. I hope I answered your question.
Next question. Well said. Well said. Next question. Questions bring out.
Any point of clarification about what was presented tonight? Any point that need to be expanded on? If some points are not are foggy.
Since nobody going to ask a question, I'm going to ask a question to the Moorish provincial governments. Anyone out there have problems putting together this structure the way we're teaching it? Need to know who you are. Say something. Ask the say something. Give a statement. Or you have experiences you have in this difficulties in comprehending this or putting this together. We need for you to reach out to give a statement. We need an open statement from you.
Islam, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Maurice Bay, coming from the area known as St. Louis, Missouri, geographically though. I had a question regarding, like, when you're doing your provincial government, is there a minimum amount of people that I guess is pretty much mandatory in order to have in regards to voting for the flag or the Constitution, or to have certain official positions that have to be filled immediately? Is there like a minimum amount of people that would be needed?
Well, the prior condition that we in, that's what I often say, start at your house. If you got a wife, you got sons and daughters, you got aunts and uncles, and don't think that they, like Professor Abdullah say, because they unconscious, don't say anything to them. That's not right. You invite them into a guest into meetings and stuff to hear what you have to, what you're involved with. Now, you don't have to have a whole lot of people to start off with, but 9 is a good number or above. And the reason why I say that, because you can get together with 9 people and you can have a vote, and you have a quorum majority who win. You can have out of that 9 and can elect who's going to be the head of this department. And then out of that 9, you out of the 9, you select the judiciary. So you got 9. So all you need is 4 to have a majority decision. All you need the other one to be whoever's going to be the head of state. And all you need is the others, which is 3, which is for 4, 5, and you got 4 more, which is the judiciary. So, and then how you build the population is by those that have talents, those who have something to offer the community, do charitable humanitarian projects from your rec center or your house. Offer them something that they need, like consultation, talking, education. Where I got this degree, this certification, I can give them 3 hours a week and then have them enroll. That builds the population up. Then if you don't have no one, if you don't know how to create a seal or flag, then you can reach out and ask the caucus, us, the society, where can I go to have someone take my intellectual property and fashion it for me and create my flag so I can pat them in my provincial government constitution? We can help you for that. Just go to the website and you'll see the vendors that will be set up to do that. You didn't add anything onto that, Tamara? You can add to that, Tamara, if you want to finish it off.
Well, you know, you never despise the small things. So you can always start off. And as you grow, you always leave room for a revision. Keep in mind that, you know, even with a lot of things that we have formed within the Moorish and Pure Restoration Caucus, as it grow, it's always going to be open to bring forth a vote for any correction that may be. You know, it's not set in stone. Like if you look at a lot of the constitutions, there are revisions in all things, especially when it's dealing with the people, you know. So with that being said, as your census in your provincial area grow, and you know, these people that are coming in and they're taking their seat in affairs amongst men, amongst one to another, they have the ability to look at these constitutions that was initially laid down. They have the ability to look at the wisdom and knowledge to see how this seal was formed and how the seal, you know, where it came from. Let's keep in mind that these things are not derived from one breath. They are brought about collectively. But as the population grow within your provincial, the majority rule, the people has the ability to go back and evaluate those things. And if there's a motion placed before the people to let's make a revision to those things, that motion must be heard. Those revisions must be brought to the floor. Those revisions must be voted on. If they're approved, that's a revision to the seal. It's a revision to the Constitution. It's a revision to the flag. And that's because the people have spoken. This is what the people choose to want to do. So it's not fixed at the beginning point. It will change because it will grow. It will grow in size. The provincial body politics will grow in size. So yes, that's my addition to what Shem.
That's beautiful. Hey, listen, that's what we need. That's what we need. Next question.
This is Amanda Siegel down in Florida territory. I wanted to find out, Jem, I know that you were talking a lot, and the other past few days as well, have seen you on Facebook and in the class on Saturday. And you were comparing similar to here with this being the more ecclesiastical trust, the principles that govern nations that's on the board, that umbrella, and versus the social trust. And I'm wondering if you're able to kind of draw a smaller umbrella off to the side that can show kind of where we're at now and the principles that are governing, or whatever it is that's governing what we're under now, and that social trust area, as opposed to this that has all the customs and traditions and everything that has not been passed down. to be able to, I guess, kind of see the two of them side by side.
Yes, the Constitution is the social trust of the people. And as the Constitution is formed, it gets into now the operation and responsibility of the keeper of the bread, which is the trustees. The trustees, see what has happened, and not in art now. I'm not coming up there. Don't be looking at me. What has happened is that, you know, in other societies that understand divine laws, and we're going to use them as for example because they are great keepers and understanding of this. And you can't see my fingers. Next week I'll dress appropriate in case I have to jump in front of the camera. So just say next week, let me do hashtags. Okay, so let's just say the Jewish community, quotes, air quotes. Let's say air quotes, Mormons. Let's say air quotes, ABCD, Quakers. Let's say air quotes, Amish. They follow the ecclesiastical model of how nations are to operate provincially. That is the true working of the model of ancient old time, in which the Moorish provincial body politics should be operating, and where those who are trusted to be the keeper of the society, the trustees, and you have the beneficiaries, they will be able to exercise the governing principles that the society have deemed to be laid down in their providence. Now, when the various Moorish provincial body politics come together and form in a treaty, amity in commerce one to another, now that goes to a whole nother level of central grand governing body, which is ascending us back to the reversions of sovereignty and be recognized on a national scale, one to another, government to government, one to another. But right now, we have to clean up the local house. We have to clean up the domestic house right now, right here, right now first. So as you see the Moorish provincial body politics forming the constitutions, that is the ecclesiastical model of keeping of the culture, the traditions, the ceremony, the festivals. Did I make sense? Did that help?
Yes, that was very helpful. Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you.
Getting up there. Beautiful. No, I don't have to add nothing to that. That's perfect. Shoot, that's perfect.
Okay.
This is Gabonde Wase.
Okay. All right, Ampac, you have
Moorish,
the mic, Ampac.
Okay. You mentioned a week or so back that there was going to be a way to download our Constitution, see the flag, and so forth.
Yes.
To the website.
We're gonna blame Terrence for that. He's still working. Yes, Terrence, he's still working on that. It should be up. It should be up by the first of the month. Yes, it should be up by the first of the month. Like you said, you know, never despise the small things. Us too, we are also working with a small crew as well, and our crew is spread out, spread thin. Yeah. Where you know we have caucus members in Khalifa. Khalifa, raise your hand. We have caucus members in Texas. We have caucus members in New York. They're all over, you know. But a lot of the things that are done right here locally, you know, they're not able to get their hands involved in the local stuff that we have to do, but trust and believe they have their voice, they have their say so in everything that's done. Even though their hands are not on the camera, they still have a say so, and you know, in what we're doing on a weekly basis. You know, with that being said, so yes, we are definitely working on that. So just be patient with us. But if you would like to mail it in, you can mail it in and to 602, care of 602 Vanderveer. It's on the
No,
website.
we've already mailed it in.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we've already mailed it in.
Okay, so if you want to mail it in,
Yeah,
that's
I
great.
understand.
The mailbox is a secure mailbox. It's a secure mailbox.
Yeah.
And we'll receive it and we'll scan it. But yes, we're gonna blame that one on Terrence. He'll have that. He will have that up and running by the 1st of the month. So
Now, another point is we're having our inauguration on May 1st. And we wanted to send something because Tamara, I think you said you'd like to put something on the website regarding our inauguration.
Yes.
Is there a format you'd like it in, or just want the text document of our program and invitation?
Send it like if you have a JPEG or PDF, that'll be great. But whatever you send it in, if I have to convert it, it's not a big deal. If I have to convert it, whatever I need to convert it to push it out to I'll do that. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Mustafa Saladin Bey, caucus member.
Peace, Sister Tamara. Peace, Brother
Peace,
Abdullah.
Lord. How are you?
I'm well. And yourself?
I'm hanging in there.
No, you did an excellent job. I was just raising my hand because you asked for the caucus members to raise their hands.
Yeah, that's right.
Represent, Mustafa.
All right.
All
Peace
right. Peace and love. Brother James Weeks Bay, caucus member.
Islam, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
All right. Peace and love to all my kinfolk across our Moorish, our vast Moorish territory. I've got a question related to the presentation today with respect to Brother Shem, when you were discussing what was done. My interpretation on my first listen is that you were given a description of the United States, but I guess my question is, let me formulate this into a question for clarity for what we're doing. Is the model that there's going to be a private society put together that underpins the provincial governments, and then once all of the provincial governments come together and sign a treaty and to express our unity, it's at that point we'll fill the seats and we'll deal with public international relations and restoration of or reversion to our sovereignty. That didn't come through crystal for me on the first look. And I always like to look at these 2 or 3 times, take my notes to fully comprehend. So just as a follow-up to your presentation, if there's something that you could elaborate further on for my own understanding and improvement, brother, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, let me go to us. When Abdullah met me, Abdullah did not met me individually, even though we was talking individual. Abdullah is operating from a representative place for his house, for his people first. Please, he's operating. He's not coming individually. When I met Abdullah, I'm the representative for my house and my community. When I met Tamara, she's representing her house because that's an ancient principle that you look out for your house. In a house are what? Aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, father, mother, the child. When you come from that principle, then someone had to represent the house. So when you come together, in order to protect your estate, your inherent right in that estate, which is a part in the province and territory of Morocco, you come together and form a society this is the first principle. When that happens, that society is already had the inherent power in itself, because we are representing a house. We're not individually. What you mean? I'm not doing it for shit. I got a daughter. I got a son. I got two daughters, a son, with two sons. I got a mother. I got a cousin, nieces, nephews, aunts. That's the community. Please hear me. The society, once we come together, and that's those that not of our houses and our community, but I have other communities, then that's the avoid separation and to make sure that the estates don't get invited and we go to war against each other. We come together and create a social trust. In order for that to be done, the society representatives of the people have to be the first ones that write it and introduce it. Then they elect a government body, a legislative body, a judiciary body that serve them and not dictate them and rule over them. So you got the ecclesiastic, then you got the social trust. The reason why social trust comes in, and let's say the Providence. Tamara went over this, and I'm glad she brought that. I'm gonna go back to that. You got Jews. They consider being Christians, and Mohammedanism followers living in one Providence. The Jews of their different tribes or clans or groups will elect, the population of them as people would elect someone to speak for them. Then the Christians, the people of the faith, or this measure out the truth, the philosophy, will elect someone to speak for them. The Muhammad followers will elect someone. Then they will come together and create a social trust constitution. In that will embody the rights, controlling the officials by saying the supreme power is in the house, the communities, the tribes, the clans, the groups, the societies, as a population of people that created their council, who in exchange speaks with the legislative power, the voting power, the executive power, and the judiciary power, therefore maintaining the sovereignty and the inherent power in them as stakeholders. That's the public government, that's open affairs that they just deal with, that they agree upon. I hope I answered your question. Brother?
So let me follow up. Let me follow up, Brother Shem.
Yes.
So with respect to, and I hear what you're saying, you know, you talked about your sons, you talked about your daughter, you talked about your mom, you talked about your immediate family, you talked about other
uncles, cousins.
Sure. Your immediate kin, and as I was listening, you said these houses coming together. My house, I'm bringing my house to your house because we're family, we're blood kin, we share the same consanguinity, so we all come together. We're gonna do that in the context of a private society initially. Is that correct?
Yes, in your province. And let me explain something to you. A society can be formed from different provinces. What do you mean, Shem? When a society is formed from different provinces, they are coming together to put together a structure, constitution, to govern themselves in that society. Now, there are others of other societies, clans, communities, that may not want to be governed on the principles of what we govern on. This is why we individuals come together collectively. In order to protect their heritage right, that we don't conflict with each other, this is why we create a public trust. In the public trust, it lays out where the authority, supreme power comes from, because the instrument got to be created, be written, authored, and settled by someone, which is who? The society, the representatives of these societies. These are not representatives of private societies. These are representatives of culture societies, of houses, cousins, aunts, uncles, relatives, whatever you call it, that forms a community. See, no one has not been teaching on this principle like this. That's why when people hear it, they try to cipher it and say, man, I'm trying to digest this meat. Just let it sink in. Tamara, you want to add to that?
I want to add to that, and actually I shared it on the board.
Yes.
That's why, wampum 99 is powerful, because Jim just spoke of, and also you just spoke of it as well, brother James, where you talk about the various nations. In the Iroquois, Haudenosaunee Iroquois Confederacy, wampum 99 states that the rites and festivals of each nation, and this is talking every nation, every Moorish provincial body politic is a nation. The rites and festivals of each nation shall remain undisturbed. So when one say, well, our nation decides to follow the principles of Mohammedanism, this next nation say, our society decide to follow the doctrines of Christianity. Another nation say, well, our society decide to just hug trees. We don't care. We're gonna hug trees. Our societies decide to Buddhism, Confucian. The rites and festivals of each nation shall remain undisturbed and shall continue, which means that I can't disturb the rites and festivals of your nation, and you can't disturb the rites and festival of our nation. But guess what? We are the same blood, and that's okay, because these things shall continue as before, because they were given by the people. Something was given to your nation, something was given to my nation. Our nation wasn't given the same thing to have as our moral compass, and as useful and necessary for the good of men, humanity. So it's not talking about a man, gender, it's talking about humanity. So with that being said, even though we may have different philosophy, doctrines, writs, and things of that nature, we still are the same culture, because all of it still derives. Remember, we talked about the divine law. It still all comes from the divine law. So that's the beauty of it. We are the same blood. We are the same divine law. We are the same kinsmanship. But if you decide to dance to the left and I decide to dance to the right, leave me dancing to the right. That's how we dance, to the right. It's good.
And United States stole that principle of saying no religious test will be given.
Absolutely.
That comes from the Iroquois.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely right.
So I hope I helped in just sharing of that additional information.
Yes. In the United States, once again, add on what Tamara is saying, is that the United States, before they formed the Jubilee, was already in working with the Iroquois and forming a constitutional structure, union. Now, the Bar Association, not the common people, the bar, was working with the Iroquois. Now, hear me out. The United States knew this, and this is why they put an amendment in there and say, Congress cannot make no law respecting the religious establishment. That means under the Iroquois Confederacy, they did not allow themselves to infringe on another nation traditions. They know it was all one culture, but they didn't let them infringe on their traditions. So when I say what is a social trust, that means if all of them live in the same providence, they will create a social trust to keep them from going to war among themselves. They will embody into the legislative, executive, and judiciary power among the nations themselves. But if an international dispute arises, they will take it to the central body, where there will be a special magistrate or judge that's elected by a representative of these nations to hear that international dispute based on the contract, or based on the instrument, or based on any civil dispute or anything happening criminally. That's the foundation. I hope I hope, brother, you, Lord, you got something out of that. Because this is an ongoing thing.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the discussion being articulated further. And I hope my question was a benefit to my kinsman. Islam.
Next question.
Islam. I'm Brother Timothy Green Bay from the territory of Tampa, Florida. Are you there with me?
Yes.
Okay. One thing I'm doing here in Tampa, it's about 8 of us. We're on and off together, and we're building. My question is on property. I have obtained empty lot, and I obtained the property that I'm staying in right now. I want to further and continue with our mission, and I want to protect my land that I acquire for the sake of us building a community here in Tampa, Florida territory. What are some of the things that I need to do?
Well, the first thing you need is you don't need a political structure. Because when you're dealing with, see, you got the land is different than the erection. And we talked about that earlier, me and Tamer and Abdullah. And we got deep on this conversation. See, you have to understand the erection of the architect. The architect drawer is property of the crown, meaning a subject of the crown. When they architect create an erection on a skyscraper or on the land, a Moorish land, that skyscraper is part of the occupying power of the foreign European powers that entered the treaties with the Moors. When it's on your land and they're operating, in order to get back the land, you have to have political structure because that's a settlement dispute. The land is not, there's no dispute about the building. That's a political occupying sovereign that a licensed corporation built a building on Moorish land. Ceded, relinquished jurisdiction to the foreign European powers, who in exchange as using trustees, managers, project managers, to now manage the occupying colony territory industry. This all it is industry. The Moors government, national government, will have to go to the international affairs of the treaty nations to have jurisdiction to speak. The officer or agent can speak on behalf of the treaty and say that the land that the building's on is Moorish land and that we want to occupy the land for political jurisdiction and dealing with Moroccans and Moorish people. Now what happens is if that building's on that Moorish land and the treaty kicks in, if the building become abandoned, hear me out, the building is not the Moors on, because the Moors didn't invent it, drafted to the intellectual property. We're not gonna steal nobody's intellectual property. We not Moors, we don't steal anything. We know the land is ours.
Correct.
Let's just get the political structure up so we can start handling the finances that they're making on the Moorish land through government structure. You understand this? You understand this?
All right. Yes, I'm understanding now.
So in order to get land, your political body, society, has to be ecstatic. What you mean, wearing a garment, a Moorish consequentity. Then be mature enough to listen, to speak, and to write back into that Moorish sovereignty, into that flag, and then go to the proper diplomatic channels, government-to-government relationship, and how to deal with that land dispute. See, this is why Professor Abdullah right. You ain't gonna get that political structure. So I hope I was
okay. I don't have a dispute. I don't have a dispute of land because
not you.
Okay.
We have a lot of unconscious Moors and conscious Moors that don't understand this correct concept. They're all in error concepts.
Yes.
In order to
Yes.
get this out, we have to tell the truth about the matter, the norms, the facts, the evidence. That's what's not being disputed to bring about a correct concept. You want to add anything to the Tamara?
Yes, I'm gonna add something to it, and we're gonna go ahead and get into it for the night. So we're gonna let that be the last question, and we're gonna address this issue because we're gonna go ahead and put this on the record because it was put in the chat. So let's go ahead and address this. Brother Sheik, Grand Sheik L Love, want you to turn your radio up. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is the man. I'm gonna correct that sentence. Prophet Noble Drew Ali was a man, just like those two men standing up there as well. And you said, and my problem here is that even though the buzzword body politic is being used, but the same divisive, selfish narrative seems to persist. Hold on, hold your mule. I got you, Shem. I lost interest in this effort, but you're here. From the first gathering, when Brother Jonathan Bay was shut out, he was disrespectful, and we allowed him to be disrespectful, and we're not going to do that anymore. I have heard nothing about Noble Drew Ali. Yes, you did. That's why I said turn your speaker up. Because if we're talking about law, we're talking about ecclesiastical, we're talking about the same framework in which Noble Drew Ali put in place as well. So you may not heard the name, you heard the same process. So the same sovereignty that those two men, the same sovereignty that I myself, the same sovereignty of all the lords and nobles on this feed tonight, we had the same sovereignty as Noble Drew Ali. Check that at the door. The business of the Moorish body politics was not meant to be picked up by yes men. I think y'all are men of honor and valor. Loud professors. Yeah, he loud. That's why they call him Thundercloud. That's why the deity is called Shango, because the thunder will clap and make a change. A change is coming. Change is here.
I want to add one thing.
Hold on.
Boy, let me get into this.
Or the pretended wise. Pretended wise. That's rude. We can run down your street and say the same thing. Grand Sheik. We can run down your same street and say pretended wise. What'd he say? He needs a political structure. Sounds like mental masturbation. Sounds like illumination of the mind to me. Sounds like illumination of the mind to the other 64 people that's on here too. So this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna get into being respectable one to another, because if you can't see the unity, the horn that has been called, you are now being looked at as a gatekeeper of the oppressor. This is it's too much. It's too much going on out here. Too much. Our people are being shot down every second, thrown in these political prisons. And y'all want to continue playing this hallelujah anyhow game with people. This got to stop. This got to stop. It's going to stop right here and right now. It's going to stop on this feed. Because if it's not about unity, it's about holding us back. And guess what? When it's time for us to swing, and if we can't see that you are for us, you're going to get hit too because you are in the way. And the more we are holding the key to move forward. So it is time out for this unity. It's time back to take back what's been stolen for us. And if you are the one who's going to continue to steal from us and play these mental games talking about one man who ain't liberated us from a darn thing, and we still out here trying to fight. Don't play no games for me. I'll run all the way down your street. Because don't tell me I had to wait to be 44 years old and just even hear the word Noble Drew Ali. My mother 70 and they never heard the word Noble Drew Ali. Don't play with me. Please don't play with me because this is nothing to be played with. We got nephews dying, children dying, all this, and y'all want to keep playing. The play is over. The play is over. So you're going to be on this feed, you're going to be on this feed with respect. Other than that, you're going to be discontinued. And when it's time to swing, you may get hit because I can't tell if you for us or against us.
I just want to add a little something. It said that coming from a woman's mouth of science and knowledge, I'm going to add and say this so that we don't deceive ourselves. Now, you can't tell me that because I'm a jurist. I know all about Noble Drew Ali. I know who even taught him, a rabbi of a Zion church. Noble Drew Ali was taught more science by a Zion rabbi and more. A melanated, carbonated man brought Noble Drew Ali into a congregation, a Zion congregation, and taught him more science. So when you're talking about we don't need nobody as Noble Drew Ali, and I'm a jurist. I have studied Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali talk about Moors and the Moabites. But Noble Drew Ali never taught about provincial government principles. He never taught about culture, that we lost our culture. He never taught about positive and negative law. He never talked about enforcing the treaties. He never talked about that we are distinct and separate as creditors, and that we are under a status, a higher status than the subjects, the British subjects. And that the United States is a corporation operating the bar co-surety, co-benefactors of the crown. This was not taught. Social trusts were not taught. As a matter of fact, the role of the Grand Sheik was error, the way Noble Drew Ali did it. Because in the temple, they didn't have a sheik. They had priests. They had elders. What you mean elder? The keepers of philosophy, tradition, and wisdom. You had the seer in the temple, because you call it ecclesiastic now. You saying that Noble Drew Ali is the way to doing it. Then if that's the case, then why more people in jail, why more concentration camps are put up, why are people eating poison food, poison water legally by a government body, why they're more brainwashed, why there's no structure, there's nobody forcing the treaties, there's nobody having a diplomatic relationship. See, I'm a jurist. You can't speak that. See, when that happens, you are misrepresenting Noble Drew Ali, because that makes you a fraud. See, you are trying to say what Noble Drew Ali is that you weren't even born then. So you are committing a fraud on the people, because you're taking him and you are apophicating his function, his status, his office status. I'm not going to let you do that to Noble Drew Ali. See, I'm going to tell the truth about Noble Drew Ali if it cuts you with a razor like a knife, because I love him. Tell you the truth about what's written in history. Go back and look. Not what somebody stab us now and tell me out their face. Noble Drew Ali went to the Pan Am Union. Prove it. I'm a jurist. I know how. You go back anciently, 18th century. When you only got invited to a convention because you're the head of a state or a nation, and you were sent there to an invitation. So in order to have an invitation, you have to make a proclamation to be known that you are a government body and that you want to speak, you want to be a part of that for unity. That's called alliance. Conventions. The Moorish flag already have sovereignty. All we have to do is come under that sovereignty as provincial government. Who taught that? Let me know the year, time, and date and month when that was taught. It wasn't. So let's not come on here like Tamara say and throw knives and swing a razor. Why are you trying to cut your Moorish brothers and sisters? That's what you're doing when you do this. You pulling out a razor or a knife or a gun and you shooting, you cutting, and you stabbing your Moorish brothers and sisters. I don't have no more to say. You anything to say there, Professor Abdullah?
Joe Ali said, we're part and parcel of this said government and must live the life accordingly. Joe Ali said, I'm coming to bring my people back into the constitutional fold of government. Back means, I deal with language, that you were once part. There's no documentary evidence that Moors was citizens of the United States. That means, and there is documentary evidence that Morocco entered into a treaty with the United States in June 1786, ratified in 1787. 9 months before the United States Constitutional Convention, Muhammad ibn Abdullah signed the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. 9 months. Let's look at it. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship between His Imperial Majesty, Emperor of Morocco, and the United States. Let's stop there. Bring my people back into the constitutional fold of government. Huh? 9 months before the United States Constitutional Convention, already had a treaty. Back into the constitutional fold of government. All right. Our authority. What number is that, Tamara? On the back of what? On the back of the questionnaire. 805 ILCS. Our authority. That is what? The Illinois, Cook County. Cook County is a creature of Illinois. A body of people, right? Followed, had to get a certain population. They petitioned an articles of incorporation to establish a corporate structure called Cook County. Illinois created Cook County. So Noble Drew Ali deposited an instrument into a foreign power, a creature of Illinois, Cook County. Our authority. You're saying that, come on, sheiks, hear me out. Grand governors, hear me out. You're saying that your authority to exist, your authority to help your people, through your authority to be in a building called the Moorish Science Temple, to stand in front of your people, you're saying that you're claiming that your authority to even speak in a building called the Moorish Science Temple to your people is derived from a foreign power. Cook County deposited You have waived more sovereignty. You relinquished, come on, grand sheiks, grand governors. You relinquished Moorish sovereignty. You claim that your authority to exist, to breathe, comes from a foreign power. Talk to me. Talk to me. I'll lay my life down. Hear me out, grand sheiks and grand governors, for my people. I'll challenge you, grand sheiks and grand governors. Talk to me.